the day the guns went quiet. For over 4 years, the guns had roared. From the muddy trenches of France to the vast Eastern Front, the world had been consumed by a conflict unlike any seen before. Millions had perished, empires teetered, and the very fabric of civilization seemed to unravel with each passing day. The Great War, as it was then known, had become a relentless machine of death and destruction. Hope dwindled as casualty lists grew longer, and the promise of a swift victory faded into a distant memory. Yet even in the darkest hours, a flicker of hope remained, the yearning for peace. By 1918, the tide began to turn. The entry of the United States into the war had bolstered the Allied forces, while the Central Powers struggled with dwindling resources and internal strife. Germany, the dominant force of the Central Powers, recognized the inevitable. Its leaders knew that continuing the fight would only lead to further devastation. Secret negotiations began, seeking an end to the bloodshed. The Allies, led by France, Britain, and the United States, demanded unconditional surrender. The negotiations were tense and fraught with difficulty. Each side harbored deep-seated grievances and sought to secure the most favorable terms possible. But the relentless pressure of the war, the sheer exhaustion of the nations involved, pushed them toward a resolution. Finally, in the early hours of November 11, 1918, in a railway carriage in the forest of Compiègne, France, the armistice was signed. The agreement stipulated the cessation of hostilities on the Western Front at 11 a.m. that very day. As the clock ticked toward the 11th hour, a strange calm descended upon the battlefields. Soldiers, who had known nothing but the deafening roar of artillery and the staccato bursts of machine gun fire, paused, listening intently. An eerie quiet began to replace the cacophony of war. At 11 a.m., the guns fell silent. Along the Western Front, from the Belgian coast to the Swiss border, the fighting stopped. The silence was profound, almost deafening in its contrast to the years of unrelenting noise. For many soldiers, the silence was disorienting. Some couldn't believe it was truly over, fearing a trick or a sudden resumption of hostilities. Others wept openly, overcome with relief and grief for fallen comrades. The war had taken an unimaginable toll, leaving deep scars on the landscape and the human psyche. The armistice offered a chance to begin the long and arduous process of healing and rebuilding. News of the armistice spread rapidly, igniting celebrations in cities and towns across the Allied nations. People poured into the streets, waving flags, singing songs, and embracing strangers. The joy was palpable, a collective release of pent-up emotions. Yet, amidst the jubilation, there was also a profound sense of mourning. The war had left millions dead, and countless others wounded or missing. Families grieved for their lost loved ones, and the shadow of loss hung heavy over the celebrations. The armistice of November 11, 1918, marked the end of one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. It was a moment of profound significance, a turning point in the 20th century. The world had changed irrevocably. The treaty that officially ended the war, the Treaty of Versailles, was signed later. But it was the armistice that brought the immediate cessation of fighting. It offered a fragile hope for a more peaceful future. Even today, we remember the sacrifices made during the First World War. We honor the millions who perished in the trenches, in the air, and at sea. Their stories serve as a reminder of the devastating consequences of war and the importance of striving for peace. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month remains a sacred time of remembrance. It is a time to reflect on the past, to learn from its lessons, and to reaffirm our commitment to building a world free from conflict. The day the guns went quiet should never be forgotten.